Hi, guys. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mr. Drew, but most of you will know me either from Bible class or from chapel. We are, as the Bible department, we want you to know that during these extremely difficult, tragic, horrible circumstances that Lebanon is passing through, that you're on our hearts and mind, that we're thinking about you guys every day, that we're praying for you, praying that God would be with you, protect you, encourage you, and would lead us all through this difficult time into a better season where we can be together face to face again, where we can live our normal, natural lives again. So, first of all, just wanted to say that that's our heart for you all. And as a part of that, we're not doing our Bible classes, but we just wanted to make these videos. I'm going to put out a video around each week that is just here for your encouragement, just to give you. I know, typically how this works when we're going through a difficult time is we're on the news a lot. People around us are on the news a lot. The noise around us is very anxious. It's very discouraging. We're hearing really horrible stuff, and that's reality. That's just what's happening right now. But we also need to hear words of life, words of encouragement, because life continues. And even in the midst of this difficulty, God is with us. He's near. And his heart towards each one of you is that you would not feel alone, that you would not feel overwhelmed, that you would not feel completely in despair or depressed or discouraged, but you would know that you have a hope, that you are passing through something difficult, but it will come to an end. And so it's important that we just have words of life, words of encouragement. So I'm going to make these short videos and make them available to you just to offer those words of encouragement. And today, as I was thinking and I was praying about what to share, my mind went back to a very familiar story, the story of the prophet Joseph, of Yusuf. And it's a beautiful story, one of the most beautiful stories ever told. And you're probably familiar with the story that here Joseph was a young man. He was the 11th out of 12 brothers. His father, Jacob, adored him, loved him. He had so much potential. And he began having dreams. And these dreams were actually from God, where he saw himself being lifted up over his brothers. But as he shared those dreams as this naive young man, it made those around him really jealous. And his brothers eventually, they were so fed up with jealousy that they turned on him. And they pretended to kill him. And they ended up selling him into slavery. A horrible twist for this young guy who felt like his life was so full of promise. And life is like that, guys. Sometimes we're right when we think things are working out, we see this potential, life takes this twist, and suddenly the world seems upside down. Nothing seems right. Well, this is what happened to Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave. He goes from being the beloved son to being a slave. Well, when he's in slavery, he works for a man named Potiphar, and is very faithful and so hardworking that Potiphar continues to promote him until finally Potiphar's wife accuses Joseph of something he didn't do. And as a result of that accusation, Joseph ends up in jail in Egypt, and in the dungeon of Pharaoh. And again, here Joseph's done nothing wrong. He's trying to do the right thing. And even though he's trying to do the right thing, life gets worse and worse. And this is the type of situation many of us, if we were faced with this challenge, we'd begin to say, God, where are you? I'm doing the right thing. Where are you? What are you doing? We don't see the big picture. We don't. We don't see the big story God's writing over our life. We get really overwhelmed by the details. But in the story of Joseph, he spends 7 years in prison, if you can imagine. And in the middle of this 7 years in prison, there's this verse in the Bible that's so powerful. And it sits right at the center of the story of Joseph. It said, but Joseph knew the love of God even when he was in prison. Joseph knew the love of God. In other words, when Joseph was in prison, he wasn't just giving in to despair. He wasn't full of bitterness. He wasn't cursing God. Even though his life had taken a horrible turn, Joseph is laying there saying, I know God has a plan for me. Joseph is laying there saying, I know that God is still with me, that he hasn't left me. Joseph experienced the reality that God saw him and loved him at the darkest moment of his life. Guys, that is the greatest thing we can imagine. In the darkest moments of my life, I have had some of the most clear moments of experiencing God, of experiencing his love, his presence. And that's my prayer for each one of you. Joseph's story doesn't end there. Joseph gets lifted out of prison and he gets put in a position of power and influence. And because of what he goes through, he's actually in a position to save his family from famine. He saves the life of the very brothers who betrayed him. And when they find out, they're terrified. They think he's going to get revenge. But Joseph says, what you meant for evil, God used for good. Not just for me, but that many would be saved through me. Joseph, because he never abandoned hope that God was with him and loved him. Joseph could look back on his trauma, his betrayal, his suffering, and he could say, what you meant for evil, God used for good. Humans do all types of things for evil. Lots of evil is happening right now in our lives in Lebanon, and we are all suffering because of it. But what man means for evil, God can use for good to save our lives, to transform our lives. Maybe this difficult season is this time where you truly put your faith in God for the first time in your life. Maybe it's a time of deep spiritual awakening for you. And maybe you'll look back years from now and say, that was the most important time of my life. I know that I can look back at some of the key moments of difficulty, moments of deep heartbreak, moments of loss when I lost loved ones. And it was the hardest times of my life, yet it was the times when I knew the love of God most closely. So my prayer for each one of you, may you know the love of God even in the dark moment. May you trust the story that God has for you, that he sees you, that he's working something good even through the negative circumstances. May you have faith and courage even on the hard days to not give up and to know that God has a plan for you. Look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks for watching.